I don't really watch sports like that. I don't have a favorite team. Like I used to be a Lakers fan when I was little, mostly because of Kobe. But over the years, as I stopped playing ball myself, I just stopped caring. The fact that I didn't have cable in college was a tipping point. Now that I'm bigger, I noticed something over the years. A lot of men don't have anything else to talk about. Unpopular opinion, some of y'all are living vicariously through other grown men, while the rest of y'all talk like you own them. Like, why are you so obsessed with an independent contractor changing employers? They don't care about your mid-ass city. Nobody yells at you when you put in for a transfer at Amazon. Focus, focus. In episode 3, we talked about state lottery systems. That's a gambling issue, and sports betting just carries that one step further. I wouldn't say I judge people who gamble, but there's exceptions. The influence is international, the history is deep, and the impact is definitely downplayed. Lotteries hit your phone too, but they'll never make gambling as appealing or as social of an activity as sports can. You might have a half-ass office pool for Mega Millions, but how many of y'all go to lottery watch parties? Chips? Guacamole? Didn't think so. Let's get deep on sports betting and hop in the DMs of that player that just lost you $250 on that parlay. I hope you die in your sleep.
Children as young as 8 are reporting sports betting addictions.
Right from their phones. Perhaps the easiest way to gamble yet.
You could win your share of $1 million.
Sports betting isn't even legal in every state yet, and it's already embedded into the fabric of the modern sports experience. If you watch live sports or sports-related interviews, then you already know that ads for and sponsorships by these companies are everywhere.
So while some folks see garbage, FanDuel sees treasure.
I put $1 million in up to 5 DraftKings sportsbook accounts.
Get in on the action with Prize Picks. Simply pick 2 or more players to win up to 10 times your money.
Then again, they let FCX put their name on a whole ass stadium, so I probably shouldn't be surprised. DraftKings, Prize Picks, FanDuel, multiple different companies on the court or field at any given time. It's insane. Those 3 I just mentioned are the biggest players in the live media sponsorship game, but DraftKings and FanDuel are easily the biggest dogs in this pack, by far. It's not just interview shows either. They also pay individual athletes and media personalities. On the FanDuel side, they got former NBA players and ESPN anchors Charles Barkley and Kenny Smith, pro golfer Jordan Spieth, sports journalist Bill Simmons, Gronk, and literally 2 women. For DraftKings, once I saw them partner up with Steve Aoki on Web3 I did not care about anything else. They clearly have way too much money to burn. Pro leagues were initially against legalization, but now that they've seen the numbers, many teams are partnered with sports books, and there's advertising all over stadiums.
We picked 7 sports broadcasts in Ontario, 2 NBA games, 5 NHL games. During 7 sports broadcasts, researchers find 3,537 gambling messages.
In the title of this video, I called sports betting an epidemic. So now it's time to dig deeper into the real scope of the problem. You might not even think it's a problem in the first place. And hopefully by the end of this piece, you can see why this shit is concerning.
Right. Dollar, real money when I stun it might go overhead. I probably buy a dealership before I ever blow the bread.
There's quite a few things you can blame on us meaning millennials. The fact that we got 8 good Harry Potter movies, 3 terrible ones, and a theme park, which I used to work at. An era of music that gave us some truly classic joints and some of the worst fashion of all time. Social media in general, and the rise of digital sports betting. According to Acumen Research, the global sports betting market was $81.7 billion in 2022, and it's expected to reach $231.2 billion by 2032. Europe accounts for 36% of that 2022 figure, with 59% of it being spent online. That's $48 billion worldwide. Let me set the record straight before I even get to the rest of the numbers. America really likes this shit. The American Gaming Association did research last year and found that almost 40 million Americans placed a sports bet within the last year. 85% of us supported the Supreme Court overturning the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, or PASPA, in 2018. And we blew a massive total on sports betting since then. How massive? I'll get to that later. If you want to visualize how stuck we are, check out this survey of 465 respondents conducted by Statista last summer. It's completely normal that the largest percentage of people bet less than $50 a month. And that might make you feel pretty good about the state of the industry. Not so fast, buddy. What's most problematic to me is this 14% of people blowing $500 to $999 a month. That's 2 out of every 15 people. Speaking for myself, I don't have any bills besides rent in that price range, and I can virtually guarantee that most of y'all don't either. Assuming these were not wealthy people, the possibility that your second biggest expense every month might be riding on whether or not James Harden plays well tonight is concerning. This is probably the best time to talk about all the sports people can bet on. It's a hell of a lot more than just basketball and football. I guarantee you the list will surprise you because it's not actually even limited to sports. Take DraftKings, for example. On the left sidebar, y'all can see all the categories people can bet on, and the first one is the goddamn Academy Awards. That's right, you could have lost money on Barbenheimer. They got the big spenders on the top, and you can watch live results come in and alter the odds in real time. I'll be explaining how odds work real soon. You can bet on everything from darts to esports, handball, Yaweh, snooker, and even collegiate sports, which is a whole other category of up. The name, image, likeness, or NIL deals that allow players to get paid in college by sponsors only go to the top performers in a few sports. So the overwhelming majority of them are still very broke, kind of like an MLM. They got teenagers on the team that can't afford to go out on a date, and y'all out here pissed on Twitter because he missed a free throw? You are 30 years old. All right. What was I saying? The most popular betting sub-segment in the survey I mentioned earlier was fixed odds wagers. And now I gotta explain what the hell that means. I have no intention of teaching anybody how to gamble, but we can't actually talk about this for real without getting familiar with the history and the terms.
Right. I'm really popping like closing on the Billy, bro. We not alike. I was funding shit for real. They said I'm out of sight.
People have been betting on sports since sports existed. It was just illegal until 1931, when Nevada legalized all betting across the board. For decades, they were the only one. That naturally leads to corruption, and it showed itself in a major way in 1951, when 32 college basketball players pleaded guilty to fixing 86 games. Their team was raw, too. They won an NIT and NCAA title in the same season. The feds didn't want legal gambling to spread too far outside of Nevada, so they added a 10% tax to all their revenues that same year. They'd eventually drop it to 2%, which led to more avenues for gambling outside of casinos. JFK took action on the illegal gambling side in 1961, signing the Federal Wire Act that prevented wire communications for interstate bets. The popular theory is that this act is the reason states regulate sports betting to this day. By '74, we got the first sports book to open in a Vegas casino, which is what the movie by the same name was about. This joint had 300 seats and the giant TV screens we've all come to recognize from the modern game. Some high-profile people like MLB manager Pete Rose got banned from their respective sports for gambling in the 80s. Now, here's where it gets crucial. Bush's administration is technically to blame for the rise of daily fantasy since they signed the Unlawful Internet Gambling Enforcement Act that made an exception for quote-unquote games of skill as opposed to games of chance. This exception left the door cracked open for companies like DraftKings and FanDuel to kick that down. We got our first prison sentence for betting on games in '06. When Tim Donaghy famously pled guilty to a couple of gambling felonies. He was an NBA referee who was putting money on games he officiated. Not only that, but he was also sharing info about player health and ref assignments to other gamblers. Mans was all in on the hustle. He served 15 months. And that brings us to legalization. New Jersey filed a federal lawsuit to strike down PASPA in '09. The suit claimed that the ban violated the 10th Amendment. Now I hear you asking, what the hell is the 10th Amendment? Because high school political science probably didn't teach you that shit. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. So basically, if it ain't the government's powers and the Constitution doesn't explicitly say the states can't do it, Gotta let the states handle it. When the Supreme Court finally heard the case 8 years later, the sports gambling ban was a wrap. Now, how do people gamble? Again, I'm not trying to teach you, but I will break down how certain wagers work so you don't look so confused when you hear people talking about a parlay. Some of the info in this section comes from this Yahoo Sports betting how-to guide, which is funny because they also put out this article pretending to debate whether gambling on sports is a good thing. It's basically a piece of content feeding you into the Yahoo Sportsbook pipeline, the odds. All right, for this one, let's hit the BetMGM Sportsbook. As you can see, Tom Brady will put his name on anything if the check is right. So since this isn't legal in Georgia, let's say I want to bet in Colorado. First thing you see is a bunch of upcoming games to bet on and these numbers on each card. Those are the odds. They give you the probability of an outcome expressed as a price. In America, we use American odds, which use positive symbols to show how much you win if you bet $100 and negative symbols to show how much you have to bet to win $100. You get your original stake back too, so betting $155 on this Clippers game that I attended would have won you $255. They use $100 to keep the math simple, but you definitely don't have to bet that much. A win is a win. You'll just win less if you bet less. The negative sign means that the team or player is the favorite, while the positive sign means they're an underdog. If there's two pluses, the smaller one is the favorite, and if there's two minuses, the larger one is. The bet types. Money line is a straight bet. You're just putting money on the result of a simple outcome. For example, maybe you think I'm gonna get through this video without letting you know how much money Americans have lost on sports betting from 2018 to 2023. Stay tuned to find out. Spread bets are when you put money on the margin of victory or defeat. You either take the spread, betting on the underdog, or give the spread, betting the favorite. Yes, both of those phrases sound hilarious. If you think a certain team is going to win by 6 and their spread is negative 5.5, you'd give or lay 5.5 points. Why is everything in this section so sexual? Point spreads have odds attached as well, typically a negative 110 for both teams. As we mentioned earlier, you got to bet $110 to win $100. The price includes the VIG, which makes me immediately think of mob movies, but the term is actually Russian in origin. The full word is vigorish. It just means the house edge. So sports books guarantee their profit by applying a fee to both sides of any given bet. It's just baked into the numbers you see on these apps. Totals bets. These are focused on the final score, not who wins. So you're putting money on the combined point total and whether it's over or under a certain amount. So you think the Chiefs and Rams game is going to end up over 43 points, and the line is 42.5, so you take the over. Futures. There's still 2 more bet types. Stay with me. Futures bets are placed on matches or series that happen in the future. So instead of betting on the Hawks game, I'd be betting on their chances to win the playoffs. Odds change based on which sports book you bet with, and of course, they get adjusted as the event gets closer, and they have more performance info to use. If a team's on a losing streak, for example, that bet for them to win the NBA Finals gets a whole lot longer. Props. This type of bet focuses on either an individual athlete's performance or something completely random that doesn't even show up in the box score. You can bet player props, game props, or novelty props, which get so specific that you can literally guess the length of the national anthem and which song Usher closes with this year. I'm thinking Caught Up or Yeah. Last one, the word I hear thrown around most often by the homies that participate, parlays. These are the sports version of a lottery ticket in that they combine multiple straight wagers into one bet. These are so popular because you get to risk less money while getting the opportunity for a larger payout. The math gets real complicated real quick. So sports betting platforms have automated systems that let you build a parlay. What's important to note about parlays is that if any subsection of that bet is off, you lose everything. All right, now that I've essentially taught you how to gamble, let me level with all the angry people about to tell me how successful they are at betting. I went to an Atlanta Hawks game the night before filming this piece and spoke to a friend of mine who's a regular bettor on Prize Picks. He showed me the interface, and I took in the live game experience to make sure I had a well-rounded perspective. I can absolutely see why people bet, and there was a noticeable spike in engagement and enjoyment of the game for them. They retained stats much better, and it added another layer of intrigue as the tension built in the arena in the fourth quarter. I'm not gonna be the one to say everyone who uses these apps is a problem gambler. That opinion lacks nuance. You can win money betting on sports, especially if it's in moderation and you take your calculations and information seriously. There's entire independent operations with large bankrolls that do this around the clock in multiple sports. That being said, there are some very clear problems with this industry that they like to downplay in those flashy ads. Hear me out.
Right, you awkward. I know you got habits to cover bases. Head up in the clouds, but it's rumblings in the basement.
First problem is how easy it is to bet. The accessibility of these apps creates an environment where you, assuming you're a person who isn't already interested in casinos or illegal gambling, have quick access to blowing large amounts of money in a matter of minutes. Several states have said there's been a spike in the use of gambling addiction hotlines, including in New Jersey, where they saw a 60% jump since sports betting was legalized federally. These hotlines are stretched thin, and this spike didn't do them any favors. According to the National Association of Administrators for Disordered Gambling Services, there were 5.7 million Americans with a gambling disorder in 2020. The federal government leaves it up to the states to fund these programs too. In the lottery episode, I mentioned that several states pull that funding from the lottery. Why the hell are we dependent on gambling to fund problem gambling initiatives? The second problem is how pervasive the advertising is. The amount of celebs, both athletes and non-athletes, that lend their brands to pushing gambling on young adults is insane. Last year's Super Bowl had Gronk kicking a field goal for FanDuel with a prize tied to it for every fan who placed a bet of at least $5. And we had appearances by Emmitt Smith, Kevin Hart, and David Ortiz in a DraftKings spot. I barely watch sports now, and I still get these ads all the time, just based on the demographic I'm in. Men in their 30s are absolutely the most active demo. The UK banned athletes and celebs from appearing in ads for gambling because they know it has a direct impact on underage sports betting. Guess what country ain't gonna do that? Third problem is the simple fact that this isn't the same as other forms of gambling. Y'all think you have information that gives you control over these bets. It's as if you barely see it as gambling. Sports gamblers see themselves as skilled, and that, combined with the emotion and live nature of these contests, makes the betting escalate in a way you don't see with the lottery. These sports books have virtually unlimited data on your betting history and know exactly what to do to press your buttons and get you to bet more.
It's hard not to be drawn to make a bet if you have the app.
Why?
Because it's right there. It's so easy. And you got the chance to win.
They literally send you push notifications to get you to bet more and come back to the app. This is not a fair fight. You are absolutely the underdog. This is Bill Miller, president of the American Gaming Association. Notice how they wrote their initials out like a casino in the single worst office decor I've ever seen. Bill really, really wants you to think this isn't addictive.
Yeah. The addiction element of are people addicted to their phones, which is kind of a common phrase. I don't believe that there is an addiction to mobile betting any more than there is an addiction to utilization of your phone for any other reason.
He speaks in vague statements that dance around the facts.
You don't think adding a layer of betting makes the phone more addictive than just tooling around Instagram?
Yeah. They have the stats. They know what they're doing. The delay between risk and reward is almost non-existent. It's like if the lotto was nothing but instant win scratch-off tickets. When you only have to wait a few hours at most to get that dopamine hit, it's a whole other ballgame. People lose money in the first quarter, then try to win it back by halftime. Next thing you know, you're gonna lose twice as much as you planned to bet in the first place, or more. This guy in this CNN article blew $100K on this and had to go to a recovery center to get his straight. According to Harry Levant, a former convicted gambler turned anti-gambling advocate, in a very recent 60 Minutes interview, the mechanisms this industry has in place are exactly like those used by tobacco companies before they got taken down in the US. Don't take that from me or him. Take it from Richard Daynard, a professor who famously led the first lawsuits against those tobacco companies. Harry worked with him to start filing a series of lawsuits, starting with the one they filed in December against DraftKings in Massachusetts. The last issue is directly tied to something that's obvious but might not be clear to people who get distracted by beautiful commercials and celebs. These companies lie. Anytime you see free in any marketing messages, they're getting something. Free bets is a misleading hook to get you to download the app and start engaging with the system. Not to mention getting all your valuable contact info. Not only that, but a lot of these risk-free promotions actually required a deposit of your own money to participate. The Ohio Casino Control Commission fined DraftKings, Caesars, and BetMGM $150K each for saying their promotions were free or risk-free last January. But ultimately, that's a speeding ticket to them. Cost of doing business. Last point that nobody ever seems to bring up, these apps will literally cut you off if you win too often. Same as any casino in the country. They only want you to keep betting if you're a consistent loser. If you've never encountered any blocks or restrictions on your favorite apps, guess what? This might sound harsh, but if it helps one person wake up and pay closer attention to what they've spent versus what they've won, my job is done. Speaking as somebody who's been in the C-suite of a startup before and heard the conversations people have around target markets, these companies don't give a about whether or not you can pay rent next month. You're a number on a page, and they only include these microscopic warnings about problem gambling in their ads because it's a legal requirement. What is a 1-800 number gonna do for an addict when it's up against an app that uses AI to determine odds and lets you bet on handball from several states away? So, is there a way to roll any of this back? I think so.
Right.
There's far too few financial protections for Americans in general, and that definitely applies to gambling regulation. It seems like as long as something makes money, they can throw that power around to convince our politicians to back off forever. We gotta consider the collateral damage done by the ads, the easy accessibility of the apps, and balance that with the fact that people really, really enjoy throwing their money away on this. They have every right to do it, and I don't want to take that away, but I'd love it if the states actually tried to give a damn about the rising addiction issue. That'll take the rest of us paying attention to what's on local ballots and putting pressure on companies to reform. Long shot, but it's possible. A lot of my viewers have commented with a specific solution to everything I've discussed in this series so far. Financial education in schools. There's no excuse for our status quo where people make it to college without hearing anything about marketing manipulation, the dangers of gambling, or effective budgeting. To those watching this who participate regularly, I understand where that rush comes from and why you participate. You might only bet a little every week, but the fact is that that habit can get away from you pretty quickly if you're not really on top of it. I'm at the age where I've accepted that most people are set in their ways when it comes to their vices. So the best I can do is present the information and hope that the logical side of your brain can win the fight against the primal urge that makes you ignore frequent defeats in favor of occasional wins. That being said, I think there's only one thing left to do here. Y'all got the information now. Can't say I ain't tell you.
Y'all, these are my first picks of the year. I feel lucky as shit. All of my picks for tonight's game. Let's get this money together. You're welcome.